Here are a few leaves that fell off of my Edith Bogue Southern Magnolia, species Magnolia grandiflora, and there are tons of this tree growing around here in Middle Tennessee, but obviously mine has been affected by some kind of blight, and the new buds are just starting to leaf out here. Here's the main leader, and you can see the leaves all around it have this blight on them, but I'm hoping that the main leader may not have the blight. I don't know, it's got this hard shell here. We'll see what that does. I've read online, and I think this could be one of two different things. Either Phyllosticta blight or verticillum wilt. Based on the pictures I saw online, I think that this infection pattern more closely matches the Phyllosticta, which I believe is mostly specific to magnolias. And it said that older trees, it shouldn't be fatal, but younger trees, it could be fatal to the tree. And I really think that what that comes down to is, can the tree outgrow it? Can the tree grow fast enough to get ahead of the fungus? So we're going to find that out. A lot of the smaller leaves around the new buds have fallen off and turned brown like this, so it's really down to this year's foliage, and the other big leaves I guess are a year or two old now. There's still some of last year's leaves here, but it's going to be an interesting year with the Magnolia grandiflora just to see how it handles this blight. But not to be deterred, I have already planted another magnolia very close to this one on purpose, but it's a different species. This is Magnolia virginiana, Sweet Bay Magnolia. I got this one from wilsonbrothersgardens.com. This is not a special cultivar. I think this is just regular Sweet Bay Magnolia. For some reason they trimmed it, I guess, to make it branch more at the nursery, but I'm probably not going to be doing any trimming this year. I'm just going to let it grow as much as possible, and then maybe next year I will get rid of those lowest branches to encourage vertical growth. Now, the reason I planted this close to the diseased magnolia is I want to see if this species is resistant to whatever is damaging the other magnolia. I think that it is, because I have two other magnolias that are Magnolia virginiana, and they have no problems. There seems to be a little leaf damage on this other Sweet Bay Magnolia, but nothing significant, and overall the foliage, I would say, it looks good. And it's already putting on lots of new growth. And here's the other Sweet Bay Magnolia, just bits of damage here and there. I'm assuming it's the same pathogen, but it doesn't seem to be nearly as aggressive. There's a little more. And higher up on the tree, there doesn't seem to be any at all. And of course this magnolia is faster growing. Magnolia virginiana grows faster vertically than regular Magnolia grandiflora, and that's another part of the same theory I talked about at the beginning, which is there's nothing you can really do about the blight unless you want to spray, but I don't want to spray, obviously, because I don't want to have to maintain a tree. I want a tree to survive on its own. So other than spraying, there's nothing you can do except for hope that the tree can outgrow the blight, and that's where the growth speed of the Sweet Bay Magnolia comes into play. And mine have been mostly evergreen. They get a little sparse in the winter, but they mostly hold on to the leaves. On the Sweet Bay, the Southern Magnolia is almost 100% evergreen, but Sweet Bay Magnolia is semi-evergreen, and some specimens I see around here lose most of their leaves, and other specimens hold on to a lot of their leaves. So I think it depends on the growing conditions and maybe how much sun there is. This one is mostly sunny. But I've been satisfied, very satisfied with Sweet Bay Magnolia, and that's why I just planted another one. And in case you're looking for Sweet Bay, Wilson Brothers is a great place to find a bunch of the different cultivars, although they don't have that many on hand right now, but in the past I found some others. Actually, this other one is a different one. This one I think is something like Moonlight. Something like that. You have to go on the website and figure it out, but it is a special cultivar, and that's why it has the more pointed leaves. Usually they're more rounded. These are a little bit more pointed, which is fine, and it seems to be a little bit more evergreen. The leaves hold a little harder in the winter than the other one. So I really like this one, and this one is in partial sun. That could also be another factor. But all that to say, after seeing what the Phyllosticta has done to the grandiflora, I'm a little bit more in favor of the virginiana for Middle Tennessee. And here's another look, or here's a look at a different Edith Bogue, planted in a different spot on the other side of the yard, but you can see from the foliage here that it looks like the same Phyllosticta has gotten a hold of it over here on this side as well. Both of these get morning shade, which is not really helpful in terms of drying out the foliage because a lot of our mornings are wet. This one's a little smaller than the other one, but also a little bit more vertical. So in theory, the shade should also make them grow faster, more vertically, which gets the foliage up off the ground. So I don't know if the answer is necessarily to plant them in full sun, but having lots of airflow would probably be better to avoid the fungus getting on the leaves. But it's really endemic around here. I think there's no way to avoid it. So I think that the species diversification into Magnolia virginiana is the best solution when trying to grow magnolia.